Hello friends. Have you ever met someone whose calm presence feels like a fortress of reliability? Someone who doesn't rush, doesn't panic, and yet always seems to win in the long game of success? That, my friends, is Taurus in business. A creature of the earth, ruled by Venus, Taurus is the entrepreneur who builds empires brick by steady brick. Not for them are the chaotic gambles or the fleeting thrills of chance. They crave something far more profound: stability that lasts, prosperity that can be touched, and a legacy that whispers their name long after they've left the room. After watching, if you'd like to support the channel, click the thanks button right under this video or use the donation alerts link in the description. Your support really helps me keep creating. And of course, if you enjoy the content, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks so much for being here. Now let's continue. The foundation: patience as power. If business were a marathon, Taurus would not sprint. They would begin with that quiet, almost unshakable confidence that unnerves those who rely on momentum alone. While others stretch their ambition like elastic, snapping from one idea to another, Taurus moves with the certainty of someone who knows the distance cannot be conquered through speed but through rhythm. There is no restlessness in their stride, no anxiety in their breath. They know time is not an enemy, it is an accomplice. Every Taurus carries within their chest an ancient metronome that beats in harmony with the earth's own slow pulse. They are not here to rush, they are here to last. Imagine a farmer walking through his fields at dawn. The soil is dark, cool, heavy with dew. He kneels and presses a seed into the ground, knowing he will not see its bloom for months. There is no desperation in his movement, no wish to fast forward the seasons. He understands what the impatient do not: growth is invisible long before it becomes spectacular. A Taurus in business embodies this sacred patience. They plant their ventures as the farmer plants his seeds, with devotion, trust, and a quiet agreement with time itself. Patience, for them, is not passive. It is an act of faith, a philosophy carved into their bones. While others chase headlines, Taurus builds systems. While the world applauds the sprinter who wins today, Taurus invests in the structure that will still stand tomorrow. Their eyes are not dazzled by overnight success stories or viral bursts of attention. They crave the kind of success that does not need applause to prove it exists, the success that hums quietly beneath the surface, like roots spreading through the earth unseen, preparing to hold a mighty tree upright for decades. They can wait through market winters and seasons of scarcity. When panic ripples through the industry, Taurus remains still, like a mountain watching the weather pass. They don't confuse movement with progress. Their calmness is not indifference, it's mastery. They understand cycles, the turning of the wheel. They know that business, like nature, has its dormant periods, and those who endure the silence will one day harvest abundance. There's a rare dignity in their stillness. To watch a Taurus in business is to witness someone who does not beg for time but collaborates with it. They see patience not as the absence of action, but as measured motion. Each step they take is deliberate, considered, precise. Their slow pace is the rhythm of permanence, not hesitation. They do not fidget in uncertainty, they fortify in it. When a Taurus entrepreneur builds something, a company, a brand, a legacy, they do it as a sculptor shapes marble. Each strike of the chisel is small, almost imperceptible on its own. But after months, years, sometimes decades, the masterpiece emerges, flawless in form and impossible to replicate. Their patience is the chisel, and time is the marble. Together, they carve longevity. They are not seduced by quick profit or shallow praise. To a Taurus, a fast gain without foundation is like a castle built on sand, impressive for a day, tragic by the next tide. Their instincts tell them that true power is built in layers. They respect the blueprint, the process, the grind that others abandon when excitement fades. While others burn out in pursuit of speed, Taurus conserves energy, moving methodically toward inevitable success. In negotiations, they wait. In decision-making, they breathe before they speak. Their silence is often mistaken for indecision, but it's not hesitation, it's calibration. They listen longer, observe deeper, and act only when the moment ripens. Their patience gives them an almost prophetic accuracy. They rarely miss their mark because they refuse to act prematurely. If you've ever seen a bull in the wild, you know its stillness is not weakness. It is gathering. The Taurus archetype mirrors that energy, calm, composed, but filled with quiet power that, when unleashed, becomes unstoppable. In business, they are the steady hand behind long-term empires, the investor who holds when others sell, the artist who polishes until the work glows. Their patience is often misunderstood in modern culture, where hustle is worshipped and urgency is mistaken for productivity. Taurus reminds us that haste is not progress, it's panic wearing a mask. They show us that the greatest growth often happens underground, invisible to everyone except those who trust in its becoming. This patience carries a kind of poetry. It's the rhythm of waves that shape cliffs over centuries, the steady heartbeat that outlives storms. A Taurus businessperson does not fear being underestimated. They let others race ahead, knowing that exhaustion is the tax of impulsive ambition. When the dust settles, Taurus is still standing, rested, prepared, and ready to claim what remains. Their way of working transforms patience into power. It's not about waiting idly but about building during the wait. When the market is quiet, Taurus refines their craft. When others are distracted by trends, they strengthen their core. They're not idle, they're incubating. Their calm exterior hides an industrious interior world, one of plans, prototypes, and careful evolution. If you were to look at the history of great, enduring businesses, the ones that survived wars, recessions, revolutions, you'd find a Taurus spirit at their heart, a devotion to quality, a refusal to rush, a deep respect for process. These are the qualities that make institutions, not fads. They remind us that the foundation of success is not speed, but stability. In a boardroom full of noise, Taurus listens. In a market full of flash, Taurus looks for substance. In a world obsessed with newness, Taurus values the tested and the true. They know that every enduring structure, be it a skyscraper or a legacy, requires a foundation that does not crumble at the first shake of uncertainty. They build slowly because they build well. They persist because they care. They wait because they know that waiting is a form of winning. Their patience is not simply a trait, it is their strategy, their armor, their greatest strength. And so, when you see a Taurus at work, steady hands, calm eyes, unhurried movements, you are not watching someone behind the times. You are watching someone ahead of them. Because while the world exhausts itself in speed, Taurus builds something that will still stand when the race is forgotten. That is the quiet revolution of Taurus patience, the realization that time, when treated as an ally, becomes the most loyal business partner of all. The craft, beauty, value, and sensory excellence. Venus rules Taurus, the planet of beauty, pleasure, and art. When Venus casts her soft light upon this earth sign, she doesn't just bless it with an appreciation for elegance, she infuses it with a compulsion to create beauty that endures. To understand Taurus in business, you must understand that for them, aesthetics are not decoration, they are the language through which meaning is expressed. A Taurus entrepreneur doesn't merely build something to sell, they sculpt an experience that whispers to every sense, an experience that lingers like the aftertaste of a fine wine. Imagine walking into a boutique owned by a Taurus. The first thing you notice is not a product, but a feeling. The lighting is warm, never harsh. The scent of cedarwood and vanilla hangs subtly in the air. The music is low, soft, chosen not to impress but to invite. Each object on display seems to have been placed not by convenience, but by intuition, as if the space itself were telling you a story. This is the invisible craftsmanship of Taurus. The ability to make even the simplest thing, a cup, a chair, a scent, feel like it belongs to a world of quiet perfection. Venus teaches Taurus that pleasure and practicality are not opposites, they are partners. Where other business minds see efficiency as the goal, Taurus sees harmony. They design with the belief that what pleases the senses also persuades the mind. A Taurus-run company invests in the small details that many overlook, the smoothness of packaging, the sound of a closing drawer, the way a customer's name appears on an invoice. They understand that human beings do not fall in love with function alone. they fall in love with feeling. And Taurus, master of the tangible, knows how to translate emotion into form. A Taurus in business has what could be called an aesthetic conscience. They can't bear to produce something that feels cheap, rushed, or soulless. Their Venusian nature demands authenticity in material and design. When they create, they want it to feel real. Whether it's a cafe, a clothing brand, or a financial consulting firm, Taurus infuses it with texture, metaphorically and literally. They know that the human experience is sensual. We remember how things make us feel more than what they make us think. So they design for the senses: sight, touch, scent, sound, even taste, because they understand that beauty speaks where words cannot. Consider a Taurus who opens a small bakery. It's never just about pastries. It's about the weight of the ceramic plate, the buttery scent that greets you before you even see the display, the faint music that reminds you of something comforting you can't quite name. The croissant is not just food, it's a story of time, care, and consistency. That is Taurus in business. They transform the ordinary into the extraordinary by refusing to neglect the human senses. Their aesthetic intuition extends beyond surface beauty, it's about value. To a Taurus, beauty is inseparable from integrity. A product that looks good but lacks substance offends their internal compass. They have an instinctive distrust of flashiness without depth. The Taurus businessperson asks, does this endure? Does this serve? Does it bring quiet joy? They believe beauty and honesty are twins. You can feel it in the weight of a well-crafted tool, the clean lines of a functional design, or the stability of a long-term promise kept. Beauty, for Taurus, is not only seen, it's felt in the reliability of form. This devotion to craft often makes them perfectionists. They are the ones who will spend an extra week choosing the right shade of blue for their logo because they know color carries emotion. They will touch a dozen fabric samples before selecting one, not because they are indecisive, but because they are attuned to the invisible conversation between texture and perception. They know the feel of linen can alter the trust a customer feels in a brand. This is not vanity, it's precision born of reverence. Taurus creates as though every object, every design choice, is a form of dialogue between maker and audience. When Taurus builds a brand, they don't sell to consumers, they build relationships with them. They make their customers feel seen, valued, and safe. Their branding tends to be calm, consistent, and elegant, never desperate for attention. It's the kind of presence that invites rather than shouts. A Taurus brand whispers luxury rather than screams it. They understand that quiet confidence is the highest form of allure. Their creations rarely age poorly. They are timeless because they are rooted in sincerity rather than trend. In the digital age, this Venusian gift becomes their secret weapon. While algorithms and virality dominate conversations, Taurus quietly focuses on the tangible heartbeat beneath it all: human emotion. They design websites that are not only visually beautiful but intuitively usable. Every click feels natural, every transition smooth. Even in pixels, their sense of texture remains: soft gradients, calming tones, gentle animations. Their digital presence feels alive, almost touchable. When you interact with a Taurus brand online, you feel something you can't quite explain, a sense of trust. That's Venus speaking through code. Because Taurus is ruled by Venus, they also carry an innate understanding of value, not just monetary, but emotional. They know that the worth of a product or service is measured not by how much it costs, but by how deeply it resonates. They believe the customer should leave an interaction feeling richer, even if they've just spent money. Their goal is not mere satisfaction, it's contentment. A Taurus business doesn't chase repeat customers through gimmicks, it earns loyalty through emotional fulfillment. They are lovers of form and substance working in unity. A Taurus doesn't just ask, is it profitable? They ask, is it beautiful? Is it honest? Will it stand the test of time? In this, they are almost old-fashioned artisans in a fast world. They would rather craft one perfect thing than 10 mediocre ones. And paradoxically, that commitment to excellence becomes their most reliable business strategy. Quality outlives quantity. Refinement outlasts noise. This Venusian craftsmanship gives Taurus an air of serenity in industries driven by chaos. Where competitors scramble to reinvent themselves every quarter, Taurus refines the same essence, deepening its value like fine wine aging in oak. They polish rather than pivot. They edit rather than explode. Their constancy becomes elegance, their repetition becomes refinement. And when others burn out, Taurus remains, calm, composed, creating beauty as if the act itself were prayer. To work with a Taurus is to experience the luxury of slowness. They will deliberate over details until the product feels right, not just good enough. They measure success not by speed but by satisfaction, not by hype but by harmony. When a Taurus founder says, "It's ready," you can trust it's ready. Every element has been touched, considered, loved into completion. Their work carries a palpable energy, the quiet hum of pride that comes from knowing nothing has been done carelessly. Perhaps what makes Taurus truly unique in business is their ability to connect beauty with morality. For them, aesthetic excellence is a form of respect, for the customer, for the material, for the craft itself. Cutting corners feels like betrayal. They see creation as sacred, a dialogue between human hands and divine inspiration. When a Taurus builds, they honor not only profit but principle. Their product becomes an offering, a promise that beauty and honesty can coexist and thrive. And in this world that often prizes speed, flash, and disposability, Taurus stands as a reminder that refinement still matters. That elegance can be a form of strength. That a well-crafted experience can speak louder than any marketing slogan. They are proof that in a noisy marketplace, quiet authenticity is the truest luxury of all. That is the Taurus touch, the artistry of value, the craftsmanship of feeling, the sensory excellence that transforms commerce into culture. When they create, they don't just make things, they make meaning. And meaning, as every Taurus knows, is the most beautiful business of all. The engine, work ethic forged in earth and iron. If there were ever a zodiac sign that embodied the phrase, "slow and steady wins the race," it would be Taurus. But perhaps it's more precise to say, Taurus doesn't race at all. Racing implies haste, a fear of being left behind, a need to prove something to others. Taurus moves with the quiet conviction of someone who knows that endurance, not speed, is the true measure of power. Their work ethic isn't fiery or frantic. It's elemental, carved from the same patience that formed the hills and valleys of the earth. If determination could take a physical shape, it would have the weight and texture of Taurus, steady, immovable, unbreakable. To understand how a Taurus works is to witness the poetry of persistence. They are the blacksmiths of the zodiac, hammering ideas into form, tempering ambition with discipline, and shaping raw vision into something usable, dependable, and lasting. Each swing of their hammer is intentional, never rushed. Each strike echoes with faith in the process. For Taurus, work is not simply a means to an end, it's a language through which they express their character. They find nobility in effort, integrity in diligence, and even beauty in repetition. When a Taurus builds, whether it's a company, a career, or a craft, they approach it the way a gardener tends a field. They prepare the soil, plant the seeds, and nurture growth with a patience that others mistake for slowness. But slowness, for Taurus, is not inefficiency, it's precision. It's the refusal to compromise quality for convenience. While others seek shortcuts, Taurus stays loyal to the long road, knowing that every true masterpiece demands time. They work as if time were clay, molding it until it becomes a vessel for their vision. Their mornings often begin before the rest of the world awakens. The early hours suit them, quiet, deliberate, grounded. They move through their routines with an almost meditative rhythm. The same breakfast, the same path to work, the same rituals that build a fortress of focus. Routine doesn't bore them, it strengthens them. Repetition is their prayer, consistency their meditation. In a culture obsessed with novelty, Taurus finds sacredness in constancy. They know that stability, not excitement, sustains achievement. Taurus entrepreneurs and professionals are rarely driven by adrenaline. Their motivation comes from a deeper, more grounded source, a love for the craft itself. They do not chase applause or validation. They work because work, for them, is a conversation with purpose. There's an intimacy between them and the task at hand, whether they're drafting a contract, laying bricks, coding a program, or baking bread. They give themselves entirely to what they do. Each gesture carries intention. Each task bears their signature. And this devotion is not loud. Taurus doesn't broadcast their efforts across social media or seek constant recognition. Their success unfolds quietly, like dawn breaking over mountains. They prefer results that speak for themselves, the finished project, the flawless execution, the quiet moment when something finally works. They know that true mastery is self-evident. There's no need to shout when your work whispers truth in every line and detail. What sets Taurus apart is their belief in the dignity of effort. They treat labor not as a burden, but as a form of creation, even redemption. For them, work is sacred because it is earned. In a world that often celebrates shortcuts, Taurus honors the grind. They find pride in the blisters, the late nights, the persistence others might see as monotony. Each day they show up, not because it's easy, but because it's right. They understand something profound. Excellence isn't a moment, it's a habit. Their approach to business reflects this deep respect for structure. They build companies the way architects build cathedrals, brick by brick, with an eye not just on today's utility but on tomorrow's endurance. They draft plans that make sense. They keep their finances transparent, their strategies consistent, their timelines realistic. Their strength lies in sustainability. They would rather grow slowly and securely than rise too fast and fall apart. To them, success that collapses under its own weight is no success at all. Because they are ruled by Venus, Taurus infuses this practicality with grace. Their work is not cold or mechanical. There's an artistry in their discipline, a sensuality in their craftsmanship. Whether it's arranging a storefront, managing a team, or perfecting a product, they do it with care. Their workspace might be tidy, their tools perfectly maintained, their schedules balanced to the minute. To an outsider, this might seem obsessive, but for Taurus, it's a form of love, the love of doing things right. They are rarely impulsive. Decisions are made after deep thought, analysis, and sometimes long contemplation. But when they finally act, their choices carry the solidity of iron. There's no wavering, no hesitation. A Taurus commitment is a contract written in stone. If they promise delivery, it will be done. If they set a goal, they'll pursue it until completion. Their endurance is legendary, not fiery and explosive, but steady and relentless, like a river cutting its way through rock. Many misunderstand their pace. Some mistake it for stubbornness or inflexibility. But those who've worked alongside a Taurus know better. Their steadiness is strategy. Their consistency is wisdom. They don't rush because they know haste breeds error, and error demands repair. By doing it once, carefully, thoughtfully, correctly, they save time in the long run. Their work rarely needs to be redone because it's done with care from the start. And when challenges come, as they inevitably do, Taurus becomes immovable. They may feel pressure, fatigue, even frustration, but they don't break. They simply dig deeper, like roots anchoring a tree through storms. Their strength is quiet but absolute. Others may panic or pivot too quickly. Taurus endures. They know that storms pass, and when they do, the strongest structures are the ones that were built slowly, intentionally, with integrity. What's often overlooked is the emotional layer of their work ethic. Taurus doesn't labor out of obligation alone, they care. They pour emotion into every spreadsheet, blueprint, or design. Their touch carries empathy. Their diligence holds compassion. They want their work to serve, not just succeed. They want to make something that lasts, something that supports others, something that matters. They believe in the humanity of hard work, the quiet satisfaction of knowing you've done your best, not for praise, but because excellence is a moral act. Taurus's relationship with work is deeply personal. It's how they understand themselves, how they process life. Their identity is woven into what they create. When they finish a task, they don't just feel relief, they feel fulfillment. They see themselves reflected in their achievements. The care they invest is a reflection of their self-respect. To do less than their best would feel like betrayal. Even rest, for them, is purposeful. When Taurus pauses, it's not to escape effort but to restore their strength for the next round. Their rest is earned, deserved, honest. They understand balance instinctively, they know when to stop and when to continue. Their rhythm of work and rest mimics the pulse of the natural world, day and night, planting and harvest, effort and reward. Taurus professionals often become mentors and anchors within organizations. Others look to them for stability, for reliability in moments of crisis. Their calm presence reassures teams that no challenge is insurmountable if approached with method and patience. They don't inspire through speeches, they inspire through consistency. Watching a Taurus work is like watching discipline itself breathe. And though they might not be the first to celebrate, Taurus is always among the last standing when the dust settles. Their achievements may take years to build, but once established, they endure like monuments. They do not chase success, they become it, slowly, surely, and with grace. Their legacy isn't in the noise of what they started but in the silence of what continues to thrive long after they've moved on. In the heart of every Taurus worker, there's an understanding that the world itself was built through slow creation, layers of sediment, centuries of shaping. Their souls mirror that process. They build, they endure, they refine. Their work ethic, forged in earth and iron, reminds us that greatness is not an act of speed, but an act of devotion repeated every single day. And when you look at the enduring empires, the trusted brands, the crafts that outlive their creators, somewhere in their foundation, you can almost always feel the steady hand of a Taurus. The golden partners, best zodiac matches for business. Who complements this powerful, steady energy? Which souls can step into Taurus's orbit without disturbing its calm gravity? Who can share in its pursuit of tangible success without being frustrated by its deliberate pace? In the great theater of business, Taurus doesn't seek chaos, it seeks composition. Its ideal partners are those who understand that growth is music, not noise, a symphony of rhythm, trust, and timing. And among all the signs in the celestial wheel, 3 shine brightest beside Taurus: Virgo, Capricorn, and Cancer. Together with them, Taurus creates enterprises that feel less like transactions and more like living, breathing ecosystems of ambition and grace. Virgo is the first perfect match, the analytical artisan to Taurus's grounded architect. Their connection is a meeting of 2 master craftsmen, each fluent in the language of diligence. Virgo's mind is a map of precision, always searching for the perfect pattern, the flawless process. Taurus, meanwhile, is the builder who turns those blueprints into structures that stand the test of time. When Virgo plans, Taurus brings those plans down from the clouds and roots them in reality. Virgo examines every bolt, Taurus ensures the bridge never sways. Their partnership is a study in balance, intellect and endurance, refinement and strength, calculation and execution. Together, they work like 2 gears in a finely made clock. There is no friction, no wasted motion. Virgo's meticulous nature thrives in Taurus's patient environment, and Taurus finds peace in Virgo's quiet perfectionism. Their boardroom meetings are not battles but choreographies. One suggests, the other stabilizes. One improves, the other implements. Virgo is the whisper of improvement, Taurus is the hum of reliability. And when these 2 earth signs unite, their shared sense of purpose becomes almost divine, the pursuit of excellence for its own sake. This collaboration also carries emotional harmony. Virgo's sensitivity to detail extends beyond work. They notice when Taurus is weary, when patience begins to edge toward fatigue. Taurus, in return, offers Virgo something the latter rarely grants themselves: calm. Virgo worries about efficiency, Taurus teaches them to trust the process. Taurus hesitates to change, Virgo gently points out the cracks that must be mended. Together, they evolve, not through conflict, but through quiet mutual refinement. In business, they are the duo that never falters, even in silence. Their shared earth-bound wisdom ensures that what they build is not just productive but perfect in form and function. Then there's Capricorn, the mountain goat, the climber, the strategist with a gaze fixed on the summit. Capricorn and Taurus are bound by the same element, yet their energies differ in frequency. Taurus is the steady hum of the soil, Capricorn the determined ascent of stone. When they meet, ambition finds its foundation. Capricorn dreams of the top, Taurus builds the ladder. Capricorn imagines the skyline. Taurus pours the concrete. It's not simply a collaboration, it's an alliance of vision and structure. Capricorn's drive is legendary, sometimes relentless, but Taurus's steady pace brings that ambition into sustainable motion. While Capricorn sets long-term strategies and financial goals, Taurus ensures that each milestone is built to last. Their conversations often revolve around legacy, not what will trend today, but what will matter in 50 years. They admire endurance, reputation, craftsmanship, the kind of wealth that outlives its creators. In them, there's no reckless chasing of opportunity. There's building, there's planning, there's patience. And they share one of the rarest forms of respect, mutual discipline. Capricorn respects Taurus for their loyalty and consistency, qualities that make them trustworthy allies in even the toughest negotiations. Taurus respects Capricorn for their vision and ambition, the willingness to climb higher even when the air grows thin. Together, they make power feel graceful. When crises arise, Capricorn analyzes, Taurus steadies. Capricorn looks 10 years ahead, Taurus focuses on the next necessary step. Between them, nothing is left undone, and no empire is left unfortified. Their partnership has the emotional flavor of a well-aged whiskey, smooth, rich, powerful, and impossible to rush. They build companies the way others build cathedrals, slowly, intentionally, with reverence for every detail. Theirs is a business relationship that becomes a monument. Where other teams crumble under stress, they endure. Their shared earth element makes them pragmatic and patient, but Venus and Saturn, their ruling planets, add layers of grace and gravitas. Venus brings charm and human warmth, Saturn adds endurance and structure. Together, they manifest the perfect balance of art and authority. And then, there is Cancer, perhaps the most unexpected ally of them all. At first glance, it may seem that the emotional moon child would clash with Taurus's pragmatic earthiness. But this is a misconception born of superficial judgment. In truth, Cancer and Taurus are complementary forces, heart and hand, feeling and form, empathy and endurance. Where Taurus builds the walls of the house, Cancer fills it with warmth. Together, they turn a business into a home. Cancer's emotional intelligence fills the gaps that Taurus's practicality can sometimes leave. They read the unspoken, the mood of the team, the pulse of the clientele, the subtle undercurrents of trust and morale that decide whether an organization thrives or withers. Taurus, in return, provides the stability that Cancer's sensitive nature craves. When the world becomes too loud or too uncertain, Taurus grounds Cancer's emotions, turning their empathy into strategy. Cancer ensures that the human side of business, the relationships, the stories, the culture, flourishes under Taurus's careful structure. In partnerships like these, success feels alive. A Cancer-Taurus collaboration builds companies where employees feel safe, where clients feel understood, and where growth feels organic rather than forced. Their workplaces are not just productive, they're nourishing. Cancer's intuition helps Taurus see beyond the spreadsheet, reminding them that numbers mean nothing without people behind them. Taurus, in turn, ensures that Cancer's compassion is protected by systems that make sustainability possible. The result is a business model that's both profitable and profoundly human. This pairing also reveals the emotional side of Taurus's strength. Though Taurus often hides their tenderness behind practicality, Cancer's presence draws it out. Together, they demonstrate that care and commerce need not be opposites. A Taurus-Cancer enterprise can sell luxury without arrogance, create wealth without exploitation, and lead without dominance. It's a model of business that feels more like family, rooted in trust, loyalty, and mutual protection. These partnerships, Virgo, Capricorn, and Cancer, each bring something essential to Taurus's table. Virgo offers precision, Capricorn ambition, Cancer compassion. One polishes, one plans, one nurtures. Taurus binds them together through patience, dependability, and integrity. None of these dynamics are flashy or chaotic. They are steady, like tides and seasons. They evolve through rhythm, not rupture. They thrive because Taurus doesn't chase speed, they attract synergy. Taurus's secret in business alliances lies in this very concept. They don't seek dominance or control. They seek harmony. They listen, they adapt, they balance. Their leadership is rooted in trust, and their partnerships are grounded in mutual respect. With Virgo, they refine. With Capricorn, they climb. With Cancer, they care. And in all of these unions, something greater than profit emerges: continuity. For Taurus, success is never fleeting. It's an inheritance, passed down through the structure of loyalty and the beauty of shared purpose. Their best partners are those who understand this, who know that working with Taurus means working not just for the next quarter, but for the next generation. In the hands of these alliances, business ceases to be competition and becomes craftsmanship, a joint creation that feels alive, loved, and built to last. And that, ultimately, is the golden secret of Taurus partnerships. In a world that chases speed and spectacle, they cultivate synergy that endures. They don't just build enterprises, they build constellations of trust, shining steadily long after the noise fades away. The hidden shadows, challenging zodiac matches for business. But not every partnership is harmonious. Even the most solid mountain meets storms that test its strength. Taurus, so grounded and composed, discovers its most profound lessons not from easy alliances, but from the friction of difference. Their greatest virtues, stability, patience, endurance, can also harden into resistance, stubbornness, and rigidity when they face energies that move too fast or too freely. And nowhere is this contrast more dramatic than in their interactions with Aquarius, Leo, and Gemini. Three signs that, in their own dazzling ways, challenge the Taurus worldview to its core. First, there's Aquarius, the visionary, the rebel, the thinker who refuses to walk the worn path. Where Taurus builds walls of security, Aquarius breaks them just to see what's on the other side. Their partnership is a study in contrasts: earth and air, structure and space, tradition and invention. Taurus wants to cultivate what exists. Aquarius wants to invent what doesn't. Taurus asks, "How do we make this stable?" Aquarius replies, "Why must it be?" In the beginning, this pairing can feel electric. Taurus admires Aquarius's originality, their ability to see around corners and predict trends before others notice them. Aquarius, in turn, respects Taurus's reliability, their rare ability to take a wild idea and give it legs. But soon, friction arises. Aquarius thrives in uncertainty. Taurus dreads it. Aquarius loves risk. Taurus calculates every consequence. When Aquarius changes course mid-project, driven by intuition or innovation, Taurus feels the floor tilt beneath their feet. Their need for predictability clashes with Aquarius's need for freedom. In business, this dynamic can manifest as a constant tug-of-war, progress stretched between two philosophies. Taurus wants process, structure, accountability. Aquarius wants experimentation, disruption, reinvention. To Aquarius, Taurus can appear slow, conservative, even creatively suffocating. To Taurus, Aquarius seems erratic, impractical, detached from reality. If unbalanced, their partnership becomes a cycle of creation and frustration. Aquarius dreaming faster than Taurus can build, Taurus building slower than Aquarius can stay interested. And yet, there's potential magic here if they learn to honor their differences. Taurus can anchor Aquarius's brilliance, turning visions into tangible innovations. Aquarius can push Taurus out of comfort zones, teaching them that evolution doesn't always mean instability, sometimes it's the only path to relevance. But for this to work, both must yield. Taurus must trust the wind, Aquarius must respect the ground. Without this compromise, their collaboration becomes not a dance, but a collision of ideals, a storm where lightning never strikes the same place twice, and the earth below begins to crack. Then comes Leo, proud, radiant, magnetic. Where Taurus embodies the quiet dignity of the earth, Leo burns with the dramatic fire of the sun. Both are fixed signs, immovable in their convictions, loyal to their principles, and devoted to their work. Together, they could create empires of beauty and strength. But more often than not, their shared stubbornness turns their partnership into an elegant standoff. Leo seeks recognition, Taurus seeks results. Leo wants applause for the performance. Taurus wants stability behind the curtain. To Leo, Taurus can appear uninspired, unwilling to take the bold leaps that attract attention and praise. To Taurus, Leo's theatrical flair feels unnecessary, even wasteful, too much sparkle, not enough substance. When Taurus proposes caution, Leo hears limitation. When Leo insists on grandeur, Taurus senses risk. Each believes their way is the right way, and neither yields easily. And yet, beneath this friction lies a powerful lesson about respect. If Taurus can appreciate Leo's need for expression and visibility, understanding that charisma itself can be an asset, they'll discover how flair and foundation can coexist. Leo, in turn, must recognize that Taurus's restraint is not dullness but discipline, a wisdom that keeps success from burning too hot, too fast. When they find this balance, their partnership becomes extraordinary. Taurus provides the structure that sustains Leo's brilliance, while Leo injects warmth, courage, and color into Taurus's steady world. The struggle between them, however, is ongoing. In the boardroom, debates can feel like duels. Both value loyalty but interpret it differently. Taurus through quiet consistency, Leo through passionate demonstration. Both want to lead, but in contrasting ways. Taurus through competence, Leo through charisma. Their partnership, therefore, succeeds only when leadership becomes shared, not contested, when they realize that a crown means little without a kingdom, and a kingdom means little without a crown. And then, there is Gemini, quicksilver in thought, air that never settles. Where Taurus moves in straight lines, Gemini dances in circles. Where Taurus builds systems, Gemini thrives in spontaneity. To Taurus, Gemini's mind seems like a whirlwind, brilliant, inventive, but exhausting. To Gemini, Taurus feels like an anchor tied too tightly, holding back the thrill of motion. Their rhythms are mismatched from the start. Gemini shifts direction with the wind, curious, restless, forever seeking novelty. Taurus needs routine, stability, predictability, the comfort of knowing that today's plans will still matter tomorrow. When Gemini changes priorities midweek, Taurus feels betrayed by the lack of commitment. When Taurus insists on process, Gemini feels trapped. The Taurus-Gemini partnership often begins with fascination, the solid earth marveling at the dancing air, but ends in confusion, both bewildered by how differently they define success. In a business setting, this contrast can manifest in small but persistent ways. Gemini improvising when Taurus wants preparation. Taurus insisting on deadlines when Gemini craves exploration. Gemini's quick-thinking nature can lead to innovative marketing or creative breakthroughs, but without Taurus's patience, their ideas risk scattering like leaves in the wind. Taurus's methodical pace, though dependable, can frustrate Gemini's need for motion, making them feel suffocated. Their success depends entirely on boundaries, clear, kind, and flexible ones that allow Gemini room to experiment while assuring Taurus that the foundation remains intact. If they manage this delicate balance, they can learn from each other profoundly. Gemini can teach Taurus adaptability, the art of thinking in possibilities rather than limitations. Taurus can teach Gemini commitment, the grace of finishing what one starts. But if ego intervenes, their partnership dissolves into chaos. Gemini flits to the next adventure, and Taurus is left holding half-built plans and unanswered messages. The truth is, not all opposites attract in business. Some energies are simply too different, their frequencies too far apart to create harmony without strain. Taurus, ruled by Venus, seeks peace, continuity, and beauty in all they do. When confronted with partners who thrive on disruption, spectacle, or unpredictability, that peace trembles. Yet within these challenging connections lies hidden wisdom. They force Taurus to evolve, to stretch beyond their comfort zone, to embrace change not as destruction but as evolution. Aquarius reminds Taurus that innovation is not chaos but potential. Leo teaches Taurus that pride, when harnessed, can inspire greatness. Gemini shows Taurus that curiosity can be as valuable as consistency. And Taurus, in turn, teaches each of them something essential. That stability is not stagnation, that patience is not passivity, that strength can be silent and still command the room. So yes, some combinations collide rather than blend. But even collisions create sparks. And sometimes, in the heat of those sparks, new alloys are forged, stronger, wiser, more complex than either element alone. Taurus may never find perfect ease with Aquarius, Leo, or Gemini, but through them, they discover the full spectrum of their own nature. They learn that to remain unmoved is not always victory, and that sometimes, letting the wind blow through the fields doesn't destroy the harvest, it helps it breathe. In the end, the shadows in partnership are not failures, they are mirrors. They reveal the edges of the self, the boundaries that define where patience becomes pride, where steadfastness becomes stubbornness. And for Taurus, the lesson is timeless. Even the most solid ground must, at times, tremble to make room for new growth. The inner battle, when stability becomes stagnation. Here lies the paradox of Taurus. The very strength that defines them, persistence, can also be the weight that holds them still. What was once their greatest virtue, the ability to endure, to wait, to build slowly and surely, can slowly calcify into fear, a fear of what might happen if they let go of the familiar. Taurus thrives on security, but too much of it becomes a gilded cage. They love stability so deeply that, at times, they confuse it with safety, and safety with immobility. And so, in business, the bull that once plowed ahead with purpose can find itself standing still in the same field long after the soil has stopped bearing fruit. This is the hidden struggle within the Taurus soul, the tug of war between holding on and moving on. They are creatures of continuity, lovers of rhythm, and guardians of structure. Change, to them, can feel like betrayal, as if evolution means abandoning everything they've built. But business, like nature, does not pause for sentiment. Markets shift, technologies evolve, and innovation waits for no one. Taurus must learn that to preserve what they love, they must sometimes let it change shape. The fortress they build to protect success can easily become the wall that traps it. Imagine a Taurus entrepreneur running a family company passed down for generations. The systems work, the customers are loyal, and the business provides steady income. But slowly, new competitors arise, more digital, more agile, more attuned to modern sensibilities. The Taurus owner, faithful to tradition, resists. This is how we've always done it, they say. The spreadsheets still show profit, so why disrupt what's working? But underneath, the numbers begin to whisper decline. The Taurus senses it, but their instinct is to double down, not to pivot. Their steadiness becomes stubbornness, their reliability turns rigid. The soil beneath their business, once rich with growth, now lies compacted, starving for air. This is where the true wisdom of Taurus is tested. Because evolution, for them, is not a natural impulse, it's a conscious act of courage. To change means to surrender control, and control is the Taurus currency of comfort. They must learn to view discomfort not as danger but as potential. Just as the earth must be tilled and disturbed before it can bloom again, Taurus must allow disruption to enter their domain. Without it, even the most beautiful garden will eventually wither. In business, this transformation can look subtle but powerful. A Taurus leader who once resisted automation begins exploring AI-driven processes, not because they crave novelty, but because they realize efficiency can preserve the legacy they love. A Taurus artisan who once feared online marketplaces opens an e-commerce store, learning that global reach doesn't dilute authenticity, it magnifies it. A Taurus investor, once skeptical of startups, begins funding innovators who share their values of longevity and ethics. Slowly, step by step, they evolve, not abandoning tradition but renewing it. The most successful Taurus entrepreneurs find equilibrium between the old and the new. They understand that roots do not make a tree static, they make it strong enough to reach higher. To grow is not to erase what was built, but to let it breathe. Warren Buffett exemplifies this beautifully, a figure of patience and rationality who still evolves with the world. He once said, "The stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient." It's a quote that could hang like a creed above every Taurus workspace. Yet even Buffett, the archetype of consistency, adapts. He studies emerging trends, listens to younger voices, invests in changing industries when logic aligns. His patience is not paralysis, it is strategic stillness. He knows when to hold and when to move. That's the secret Taurus must learn. Stability is not the same as stagnation. True stability is dynamic. It breathes, flexes, adjusts. A Taurus who refuses to change is like a river dammed, at first calm, then suffocating. But a Taurus who channels their persistence into evolution becomes unstoppable. They turn fear into foresight. They build businesses that are not just strong but sustainable across eras. Consider the metaphor of soil once more. Fresh earth teems with life because it's alive, organisms breaking down old matter to feed new growth. But untouched earth, left unturned, becomes compacted, airless, and fertile. Taurus must learn to be the gardener of their own stability, to till, to rotate, to let new seeds in. Their challenge is not to abandon their nature, but to refresh it. Their task is to understand that change, when embraced with grace, is not chaos, it's continuity evolving. There is also an emotional dimension to this battle. Taurus often associates their identity with what they've built. To alter a system, a product, or a career path can feel deeply personal, as though they're erasing a piece of themselves. But evolution doesn't erase essence, it refines it. The bull that survives the storm doesn't lose its strength, it gains wisdom in how to move with the wind. When Taurus learns to separate pride from purpose, transformation becomes natural, even joyful. The mature Taurus entrepreneur recognizes this truth intuitively. Evolution is not the enemy of loyalty, it's its greatest proof. To stay committed to a dream means keeping it alive, even when the form must change. In practice, that might mean rebranding a long-loved business, rethinking leadership style, or shifting from control to collaboration. It might mean inviting younger generations to contribute ideas that challenge the status quo. These decisions don't diminish tradition, they safeguard it for the future. The irony is that Taurus's fear of instability often blinds them to the most stable truth of all. Nothing that truly endures stays exactly the same. Mountains erode, rivers shift course, trees shed leaves. It is in the cycle, not in the stillness, that life sustains itself. Once Taurus embraces this rhythm, they discover a new kind of peace, one not built on resistance but on trust. In business, this mindset is transformative. A Taurus who welcomes innovation while honoring structure becomes a leader of rare balance, practical yet visionary, disciplined yet daring. They bring heart to progress, grace to technology, beauty to efficiency. Their companies feel timeless not because they resist change, but because they evolve with such integrity that their essence remains intact. And when they master this art of steady evolution, they no longer fear change, they guide it. They become the architects of continuity, the bridge between eras. They embody a truth that few understand but all admire, that patience and progress, when woven together, create permanence. So the next time a Taurus feels the urge to hold tighter, to freeze the world in the shape that feels safest, they should remember the soil. The same hands that built their stability are capable of reshaping it. They can let go without losing ground. They can move forward without losing meaning. For Taurus, growth is not about abandoning the past, it's about allowing the past to bloom again in new colors. That is the wisdom of the mature Taurus soul, the one who has looked fear in the face and found movement beneath its surface. The one who understands that the true legacy of patience is not in waiting, but in knowing when it's time to begin again. The legacy, the builder of lasting empires. When a Taurus builds something, it's not for the next quarter, it's for the next century. They do not measure progress by how fast it arrives but by how long it stands once it's here. Their hands are guided by an invisible compass that points always toward permanence. They are the quiet architects of continuity, the stewards of time itself, shaping dreams into structures so enduring that even when they're gone, the echo of their intention remains. A Taurus doesn't simply construct a business, they cultivate a world. Whether it's a family bakery that still smells of their grandmother's recipes, a multinational company with ethics rooted in sincerity, or an art studio that transforms beauty into livelihood, what they build carries a living heartbeat. Their legacy is not made of slogans or fleeting trends, it's made of reliability, grace, and devotion. To understand a Taurus empire, one must imagine the rhythm of slow creation, the deliberate laying of stone upon stone, decision upon decision, all guided by a vision that outlasts the moment. They do not rush, they listen, to the market, to the soil, to their own intuition. For Taurus, success is a harvest, not a hunt. It is something earned through patience, nurtured through consistency, and perfected through care. When a Taurus founder walks through their creation, they see more than numbers or accolades. They see continuity, people working with dignity, systems that hum with order, spaces that feel safe. Their businesses are rarely chaotic, they are symphonies of rhythm and reliability. And in every corner, their spirit lingers, quiet but unmistakable, like a familiar fragrance that never fades. A Taurus doesn't chase trends because they understand something most forget. Trends fade, but trust endures. While others sprint toward what's fashionable, Taurus stays grounded in what's meaningful. They are the guardians of value in a world obsessed with novelty. When others tear down for the next big thing, Taurus restores, renovates, reinvests. To them, progress isn't destruction, it's refinement. Their empire doesn't just survive the storms of time, it learns from them. Taurus endures recessions, shifts, and revolutions not through luck, but through unwavering principles. They do not gamble with their foundation. Their businesses grow like oak trees, slowly, gracefully, and with roots deep enough to find water even in drought. They believe in sustainability, in craftsmanship, in work done well for its own sake. That's why Taurus-built companies often become family names, community anchors, or legacies passed down through generations. Every Taurus empire carries its creator's essence. Even decades after their departure, their touch remains visible in the policies that protect employees, in the ethical codes that guide decisions, in the subtle aesthetic of every product. You can feel them in the texture of the brand itself, not as an echo of ego, but as an enduring presence of care. Their influence weaves itself quietly into the DNA of their enterprise, transforming simple profit-making into something sacred, continuity with purpose. The world might forget their face, but it remembers their work. It remembers the trust they built, the consistency they maintained, the calm they brought to chaos. A Taurus doesn't just manage people, they nurture them. They don't just design systems, they give those systems soul. And that's why what they build endures, because it's not merely efficient, it's humane. In the age of speed, Taurus reminds us of the majesty of patience. They show that the slow path can be the most direct one, that true progress often begins in stillness. A Taurus leader measures success not by how loudly it announces itself, but by how quietly it sustains others. They find elegance in simplicity, strength in silence, and power in restraint. Their gift to the world is proof that consistency is not boring, it's revolutionary. When everyone else is reinventing the wheel, Taurus perfects the craft of making it roll forever. Their businesses teach the value of trust, that when people know you will show up every time, you become irreplaceable. They understand that the foundation of all commerce is not innovation, but integrity. And they guard that foundation like a sacred flame. Their patience is not passive. It is active, intentional, strategic. A Taurus works steadily, yes, but also shrewdly, observing cycles, anticipating outcomes, adjusting with subtle mastery. This is why many Taurus-led organizations outlast flashier competitors. They are not built on adrenaline, they are built on architecture. In every decision, Taurus asks, will this last? It's not fear of change that drives the question, it's reverence for endurance. They understand that empires crumble when they chase applause instead of alignment. They'd rather build something quiet and eternal than something loud and temporary. Think of the great builders in spirit, those who left behind more than companies. The philanthropists who funded schools that still teach a century later. The designers whose work remains iconic. The investors who taught restraint and vision. Whether or not they shared Taurus's birthday, they share its ethos, to build something that outlives its maker. A Taurus business leader teaches a subtle but profound truth, that success is not measured in quarterly profits but in the longevity of purpose. They remind us that the goal of work is not just achievement, but contribution, the steady offering of something valuable to the world. They know that true wealth is quiet. it hums beneath the surface, like the deep roots of an old tree. And those roots, that is where the Taurus legacy lives. Deep in the unseen layers of systems and values, in the traditions quietly passed from one leader to another. They do not need recognition, they crave resonance. They want to know that what they built still supports others long after they're gone. To work with a Taurus is to feel this philosophy in motion. You sense their reliability in the structure of meetings, their grace in the way decisions are made, their calm authority in the hardest times. They lead not through volume but through presence. They don't chase inspiration, they embody it. They make people feel that time, once invested with them, is never wasted. And perhaps this is the deepest beauty of Taurus in business. They do not seek to make a living, they seek to make something that lives. They see commerce not as competition but as craftsmanship, not as speed but as stewardship. Their legacy is not built in headlines, it's built in habits, the daily discipline of excellence practiced over decades. So if you are a Taurus, or if you're lucky enough to work beside one, remember this. What you're building is not merely a career, not even just a company. You're shaping a testament to patience, to integrity, to grace under time. You're leaving behind not just results, but roots. And in those roots, your name becomes something more than remembered, it becomes felt. The Taurus legacy isn't loud, it's lasting. It whispers through generations like the steady hum of the earth itself, reminding us that greatness is not measured by motion, but by endurance. That what endures, endures not by chance, but by care. And that the truest form of success is not to shine briefly, but to build something that never stops shining, even when you're gone.